You're listening to Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast brought to you by Nottinghamshire Live. Hello, welcome to Garibaldi Red as we look forward to the agonising but hopefully joyous end of the season as Nottingham Forest go into the playoffs where they'll take on Sheffield United after that 1-1 draw with Hull on Saturday. So to preview that big two-legged tie against the Blades, we're joined first of all by Reds legend Garry Birtles. Hello Garry, you well?
Yeah, good morning. Fine, thank you. You?
Yes, good, thank you. Not
good.
Too bad at all. And our second guest today is Forest fan Michael Temple. Hello Temps, you okay?
Morning, Matt. Good to see you.
Yes, you too. Good to see you both, gents. So I must admit, my heart sank when it wasn't Luton and it was going to be Sheffield United. I'm absolutely traumatised by 2003 even now. Garry, tell me I've got nothing to worry about and it's all going to be okay.
You've got nothing to worry about. It's going to be okay. We're going to beat them.
Good.
They don't want to. Nobody wants to play us. Believe me. You know, it's Luton. We saw what happened at Luton. That tight little pitch that didn't suit our, style of play. Yeah, we got done by refereeing mistakes again, but they had a bad one themselves as well. The only thing was apparently they've got a load of injury problems, Luton. So I've been told. So it would have been maybe a good time to play them, but with the away leg first. Sheffield United know that they have got to go for it, and they also know that if they go for it, we could punish them massively with our pace and where the goals come from. We've got so many players now who can chip in with goals and make a difference. I don't think we'll go defensively. I just think we'll go as we normally play. Why shouldn't we? It's worked perfectly well all the way through. Why change it now? And I would think the trepidation will be with Sheffield United more than us, without a doubt.
What's your take on it, Temps? Would you have wanted Luton more deep down, or does this feel like a tie Forest are pretty well set up for?
Yeah, Gary's right. It should be about us rather than the opposition. And if we play as we have been, we can beat anybody. I think Luton would have been the easier tie, just because their spoiling tactics with that TV audience, that many people watching, that much of an important game. I think could have played into our hands. We would have been looking to play football, and they have that physical brand, don't they? And try to rough teams up a bit. So I think we could have dealt with that quite comfortably over two legs. And Sheffield United will be a tougher tie, but we're favourites for a reason, and that's because of the form we've showed since Steve Cooper arrived. So no fear. But yeah, to your point, who would I have rather have played? Luton for sure.
Me too. Right, we'll get into more about that tie in a bit. We should reflect on the whole game, the final game of the regular season, finished in a 1-1 draw. Team selection, we had a big debate, me, Temps and Greg on the last podcast about how we thought Forest would go. In the end, they went with this team: Samba, Worrell, Figueiredo, a debut for young Panzo, Larea, Cafu, Garner, Lolly, Zinkenagel, Mighton and Silva. A lot of changes there, Garry. I mean, who can doubt Steve Cooper in terms of what he's done this season? But would you have gone a bit stronger, or do you think he's done the right thing there?
No, I was delighted when I saw the team sheet because we're right at the precipice with strikers, aren't we? And you don't want to get your key players injured. It's no disrespect to Hull whatsoever. I mean, they got walloped the week before, so they didn't want that to happen. So it's going to be a difficult game, I would have thought anyway, for pride for them after the previous weekend. So I think he got it spot on. We should have won it. They equalised. We scored in injury time. They scored in injury time. But that's the way it goes. Football's a very unpredictable sport. We know that. And you just got to take what comes. And at least now we've got, a fit Surridge. We've got Brennan Johnson. We've got Jed Spence because Middlesbrough didn't get in there. They got battered by Preston. So, I think apart from the win, it all went according to plan.
Yeah, I mean, Temps, my big worry was you play Brennan or Jed and they're young athletes. One of them pulls a hamstring in a sprint and that's them done. I felt Cooper did the right thing. What about you?
Yeah, he did do the right thing, and he did what he said he was going to, didn't he? In his pre-match conference, when he said some of these boys need rhythm, want to carry on playing, and there's a few walking wounded who needed a weekend on the sideline. So I think he got it right. Probably asked everybody if they wanted to play. Took some insight from the medical team, and where those that were perhaps on the cusp told him they fancied playing, but they were managing a knock. I'd probably include Surridge in that number. He made the sensible call. So good to get a few minutes into the the players that had that opportunity. But I think it did highlight how much stronger we are when he names his best 11 without any kind of fitness issues, because a few looked a bit undercooked. I thought Mighton looked a bit undercooked. Silva, we were a little bit blunt up front in the first half, but then others, Panzo looked very assured. The rear's an exciting prospect in possession. So yeah, he got it right, and it was nice to have that weekend where he had the luxury of making those decisions.
Yeah, I want to come back to Panzer and Lorrea. I just want to come to you first, Garry, about this lack of attacking depth. I suppose my concern now is if Sam Surridge isn't having a good game, as we saw at Bournemouth, perhaps second half, there's no Keenan Davis or Lewis Grabban to bring on as it stands. Maybe Davis gets back. You never know with Forest and injuries this season. But does that worry you a bit against a team like Sheffield United?
Not particularly, because I watch Surridge very, very closely every time I watch him and see what he does. And it's not just his finishing capabilities, it's his movement that causes problems for defenders as well. And his appetite to close things down and try and stop them playing out from the back. That allows midfield to push up a couple of yards. That allows the back 3 or 5 to push up even more. And that makes it more comfortable and makes it more problematic for the opposition. So I've not got a problem with whether he plays well or not. Strikers sometimes don't. They're beholden on support from elsewhere. And if they're not getting that support, you can't blame them. But he's an honest lad. He won't shirk the responsibility of doing the rest off the ball when he hasn't got it, or when he's in a position to score, maybe. He's an honest lad. He runs a line really well. He doesn't give defenders an opportunity to relax. So, as a striker, I know sometimes you could not have the ball for 10 minutes or whatever, but, good strikers then react when it does come their way. And he's that sort of player for me. I think since he got in the team and he got 90 minutes, we've seen one of the best finishers in the Championship. You can say Mitrovic, but Mitrovic is a different sort of striker. Some of the finishes you've seen from Sam Surridge have been absolutely sensational. Not just the ones in the roof of the net, the little bits of movement, for headers and things like that, and little bits of adjustment in the box, to maybe get an easier goal, tap in maybe. He's not just a one-trick pony. He's got so many different facets to his game, and I just love watching him play. He's the sort of player I love, because I used to do that sort of thing. I used to put, all the hard work in to try and help others out. And he does exactly the same. He's a great team player. And, your teammates respect that when you can see a striker doing that, when he's not actually getting the chances coming his way.
Richard's asking in the comments about Keenan Davis, saying he drives fans away from Brendan Johnson. Any news when he could feature? I think Cooper's doing press today, Monday, as we record this. So we might find out more, but I think we've seen with Forest this season, sometimes a player will appear on the bench from nowhere, and that'll be welcome news if he is there on Saturday in Keenan's case. Temps, just going back to Panzo, an interesting player because he's got this reputation of being a big prospect who's not really stuck anywhere. It's his first appearance of Forest after signing in January, so quite a long wait. I heard good things about him in the under-23s. You said earlier you were quite impressed by what you saw?
Yeah, he's very assured, and he kind of fits that mould, doesn't he, of a defensive player who's comfortable on the ball, can find a pass, isn't just a hoof merchant. Because I think that the days of Forest being able to accommodate limited defenders have gone. We look to build from the back. We like the ball into midfield. Often one of the centre halves will stride out and try and create that overlap. So it's important they're comfortable on the ball. And I just thought he really was. And I can see why he could fit into the Forest system if he was called upon more and more. So, yeah, Panzo looks a good prospect for me. The fact he hasn't had any minutes is just symptomatic of the fact that Cook, Worrell and McKenna have been bulletproof. And in fairness as well, Figueiredo had a good game at the weekend. And whenever he stepped up, he's looked very comfortable. So I'm sure Panzo's knocked on the manager's door. But Cooper's had good reason to keep faith with the fellas that have got the shirts. But I think we'll see more of him next season. And I think it could hopefully be another one of those situations where it's the right player at the right club. Of course, so much depends on what league we're operating in.
I'm not sure he would knock on the manager's door, actually, because if you can see people in your position doing nothing wrong and being absolutely brilliant, then you've got no qualms. You can't think, well, I'm better than them. Well, you can do if you want to, But how can a manager change something that is probably the best in the Championship? How can you change that? So I don't think he'd probably be like that. His agent may be telling him to do that, but I don't think he'd want to do it off his own back because he can see it. It's stupid to say, right, I think I should be in the team when those three are doing so well.
Anyone else stand out for you, Temps, that doesn't normally play?
No. I thought Martin and Silva looked undercooked. I think that was to Gary's point earlier, where the absence of Davies, Grabban, Surridge felt we are light up top because of those circumstances with injury. So no, didn't see enough from them to think they're going to be decent prospects to improve the side in the playoffs. Larea, first start, again, waited a long time for it. Clearly he's got some pace, he's comfortable on the ball, but he didn't have the impact that Jed Spence has been having, understandably so. He's one of the standout players in the championship this season. So Panzo was the one for me, Matt, at the weekend.
The problem is when you come into a situation like that where the team's been pretty nailed on for quite a bit now, other than injuries, it's difficult then to expect too much from the players who come in because they're not up to speed. They're not as fit. You can do as much training as you like. You can play for the under-23s as much as you like, but you're not up to spec for the Championship, because you're just not. Even though, that everything's better for players now, they get more help, more, vitamins, they get fitness trainers, get everything. There's so many things going on to help players now. It's that 90 minutes on a Saturday afternoon that you need on a regular basis. If you don't get that, you can probably put it in for about an hour, but there are going to be moments where you don't look particularly good and you don't look fit. And that's not their fault. They can only come and play when they're picked and when they're told to go on. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I haven't got a problem with that because I saw Mike come on the other week and score that goal. The tenacity he showed when he went through there to get that. There are moments that he can do that again because he's got that ability. And they've all got that ability, these players who are coming in. And every, 15, 20 minutes they get in a game, would help. But there's not much time left now, obviously. But I think Steve will be happy with what he saw at the weekend in certain areas from certain players. And he thinks, right, okay, that's not bad. That's what I wanted to see in case, we do get injury problems and we need somebody to step in.
If you were making a change now, Gary, with 15 minutes to go and you need a goal, is Mighton higher up the pecking order than Lolly now? Because he's got that bit of explosiveness that he can do something.
Without a doubt. That's nothing against Joe Lolly because we know what Joe Lolly's capable of, when he's at his best. But, when you want somebody with pace to upset somebody and you might get a penalty, that half yard that he goes past somebody, just gets a toe poke, you get brought down. I did a game I did Wolves v who did I do? Wolves v Brighton the other week, and they had two penalties, and one it was just because the boy who played for Liverpool up front, what's his name? I forget his name now. He got brought down. It was just it looked an accident. Come on, tell me who it is at Brighton.
Lallana.
No, striker. Was it Welbeck?
Oh, at Arsenal, yeah. He played for Arsenal, Man U, didn't he?
Yeah. That sort of, incident, his pace just took him away and there was a collision. And it was definitely a penalty. And that's what he could do because he has that ability just to be able to maybe go away half a yard quicker than somebody else. And, late in games, that can turn a game on its head. And, he would be the top of my pecking order to come on if needed.
We saw that on Saturday in a different way, didn't we, Temps, with Surridge to win that penalty. I thought it was definitely a penalty. I've only seen it on my phone. You saw the game in full. But it looked really clever striker play, wasn't it, to get ahead of Huddleston and get his body in the way. Yeah,
I think he knew what he was doing. Striker's trick, but it wasn't a con. He put his foot in the right place to grab it. Huddleston straight away, he's giving it the old two hands in the air. Didn't touch him, boss. But it looked to me on the replay certainly that Surridge earned that penalty. But Surridge can't be an impact player now. We need that quality up top, and we'll learn a bit more, as you say, about the fitness of Keenan Davis. But he is going to be key in this playoff run. if he's not 100% or can't give us 60 minutes, and I think you've got to find a way to accommodate Brennan Johnson centrally, and then that selection point around Lolly and Myton becomes really, really key, because I don't think there's any other shuffle in which Forest can maintain the level of quality and have that quality finisher that they're going to need in these games. So I hope and pray that Surridge is fit and ready to start these games, because that's plan A. But you won't see Silva or Myton up top in these 3 games we've got remaining this season.
I thought the interesting thing was a lot of Forest supporters were more excited that Keenan Davies was on the coach at Bournemouth. I think, wasn't he? Did he go down on the coach with the team to Bournemouth?
Yeah, he might well have done. I know.
I thought Keenan Davies was on the coach, or whether it was Hull, I don't know. But so hopefully that indicates there might be an opportunity, to get him in there. And his fitness levels are good. He's been out, but he's built up his fitness level, so that won't be a concern. You can't leave Surridge out for me. You just cannot leave him out because of what he gives the team. The capacity to finish how he does is just absolutely staggering at times, the quality he finds. And when you're a striker, confidence is a major thing. And when you're a confident striker, you back yourself so often. And he was unlucky at Bournemouth, hit the bar. A lot of people said to me, why didn't he use his right foot the same as the previous game? It looked like the exactly replica of where he was, the pace of the ball that came to him. I thought he was going to hit this with his right foot, and he didn't hit it with his left. And people were talking about that for quite a bit. But, he puts himself in the positions to do that. He's not frightened of missing. And that is major for a striker, that you're not frightened to miss. If you're frightened to miss, you don't get in the positions to miss. Simple as. I was guilty of that a little bit when I was at Man United. You're thinking, I don't want to miss one. And not very often, but I can remember one against Man City. The worst game, you could, bottle it a little bit. And, I held my hands up once. I think it was only the once. But I know how strikers feel when, it's not going their way. But he's not like that. He just keeps getting in there.
How can you tell it's not going their way then? From experience, is it like, you don't go that extra yard to get into space? Is that kind of that kind of thing?
You'll take an extra touch.
Okay.
Just try and make sure, instead of having 2 touches or 1 touch, you take another one to think, right, I've got to get this right. And then the defender closes you down. That's why in training you play 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch. Because 3 touch, that gives a defender time to close you down, no problem at all. Then you go to 2 touch, gets more difficult for a defender. And then obviously 1 touch, you take it straight away. But the 2 touch is the important thing. Cloughie always said, never make a good chance better. But when you're not playing particularly well, it's not going your way, you try to do that. You probably subconsciously you're not trying to, but you do. And that extra touch gives the defender time to close you down. So that's why I love what Surridge does. His confidence has grown dramatically, and I just love watching him.
Quick word on the penalty that Brennan took, Temps, because I guess he's on penalties now if it comes to it in the playoffs. Good penalty. His run-up makes me a little nervous. The bit straight and then he jumps to the side. But I think he's given himself enough options to put it anywhere in the goal now. Confident he was going to score?
Yeah, I was confident he was going to score. And we spoke about this before, but someone's had a word with him about the penalty he chooses to take. So whatever the run-up, do what you're comfortable with. But side foot with power is the way to consistently score penalties. And these Panenkas or even lacing it make for good clips. But if you want to be trusted to take 5 to 10 penalties a year, it's got to be side foot with power and be able to pick your spot. So there's been a word in his ear, no doubt his old man, if not Steve Cooper, telling him no more chips down the middle, please, because he has a mindset, a calmness, a maturity, and a technique. He can strike a football to be a very accomplished penalty taker. Now he's got that silly chip down the middle out of his mind. So yeah, I had confidence in Brennan, and who knows how important penalties are going to be in the next few weeks.
Oh God, you've tempted it now. He's
fainted. He's fainted.
You've done it now. Best penalty for you, Garry? Like Temp says, low in the corner.
Well, I played with probably the second best penalty taker of all time. Letitia, I think, was probably the best, but John Robertson was magnificent. Both corners, both feet, and he just went for corners. He didn't miss a great deal, and you just always had the confidence that he was going to score. and the majority of the time he did. So, and it's going to be heart and mouth stuff, because we're talking about the biggest couple of games in football. You know, the money that you get going to the Premier League. I mean, that decision at Bournemouth was an absolute disgrace.
What about VAR in the playoffs? That wasn't on our questions for the show.
Well, I don't get this VAR. Right, 3 games. The West Brom game, we'll start with that. The referee and the assistant gave the throw to West Brom. The 4th official gets involved and said, no, it was a West Brom throw. Forest throw, sorry, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that gets overturned. Swansea game, the ball goes over the line, the boy claws it back, gets a red card. Then they say, because it blah, 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 it was rescinded to a yellow. So how can they look at that and the other one and then not look at the one at Bournemouth? I don't get how they can look at one incident and 2 incidents and change their mind and not look at another one when it's clearly a massive decision. It just baffles me.
My understanding of the goal and the reverse of the red card was that the goal review system, the goal line technology, which is at the City ground, did go off, but the ref's watch didn't. So the 4th official rightly said a goal had been scored, at which point the ref rescinded it because the handball was therefore out of play. So I think they got there in the end on that. But for anybody casually watching and not having looked into the circumstances, you would be completely baffled by that reverse of decision. But they were using the technology correctly there, apart from the fact that the ref's watch failed. But yeah, look, there's incidents, and we always dwell on the ones which would have been in Forest's favour, and that Bournemouth game being the extreme example.
It was the one at Luton as well.
Their
guy at Luton got sent off, and that was wrong as well. The standard of refereeing, I think, is a disgrace at the moment. I really do. I've never seen it support so many talking points. We're talking more about refereeing points and assistant referees points than we are the football at the moment again. I mean, I think in the Premier League, referees don't ref it because VAR refs it now. I speak to Nigel Clough, and he said that some of the standards of refereeing, it's not brilliant. Why don't they have refresher courses or something like that? And then the 2 of them go and apologise to Steve Cooper after. That's the last thing I'd have wanted. I'd have wanted to bloody punch him. Don't come and knock on my door apologising, for goodness sake. Yes, you've made a mistake. I don't want to hear it. Fine. You could have cost us 150 million quid there. Simple as. And we always get this. The Premier League referees come down and they always make the mistakes. It's just overwhelmingly bad.
I think the reason I like it in these playoffs is just because of Brennan Johnson. I really hope that if he gets pulled down in the box, that they have the bottle to actually reverse the decision and give him a penalty, because he should have had 3 or 4 more than he's had this season.
Easily.
So that's certainly why I would welcome it, and hopefully it does help Forest. Like you say, Gary's right about the standard refereeing. It's been appalling, so hopefully there's no escape for them this time when it comes to getting decisions wrong. Just finishing off the whole game, Temps, Forest concedes literally from the kickoff, freak goal. Is there anything they can do about that, really?
You see that 3 or 4 times a season, don't you, where a whipped cross meanders slowly in at the back stick and nobody touches it, but the keeper can't react because he's expecting the striker to have some kind of contact on that ball. So just write that off as a freak occurrence. I don't think anybody was really at fault, but frustrating that we didn't have the resilience to see the game out, having taken a late lead. So no, I don't think we could have done too much about that. If Sambra had gone early and the striker touched it to the middle of the goal or the other post, then that's a bad mistake. He did what he needed to do, and the cross evaded everybody, no touch, and it goes. So disappointing, but unavoidable.
Question for you can answer this one, Gary. A question from Greg. How much of an impact will conceding a late goal on Saturday have on the mindset of the players going into the playoffs? Does it make any difference at all during 1-1 with Hull? And then it changes it from Luton to Sheffield? No.
Not an iota. It's gone. You can do nothing about it. It's finished. We drew 1-1. We would like to have won it. We're in a position to win it. Free goal comes along. You can do nothing about it. Players don't rest on things like that. They're just interested in what to do in the next game. You can't do anything defensively to do anything about that. If it's a mistake defensively, yes, you can, but it's a fluke goal. And, we're in the playoffs anyway. We rested a load of players. And I think it just tells you how confident, Steve Cooper and the players are about playing anybody. Nobody, everybody's been saying, nobody wants to play us. If we'd have scored that first goal at Bournemouth, we might have missed a penalty had it been given. But if we'd have scored that, I think Bournemouth would have gone. I think their heads would have gone, the confidence would have gone, and we could have gone on to win that game, by more. But that situation, that lifted them, and, the second half performance was very good from them. So, no, I've got no qualms about going into the next game. All people are talking about is previous playoffs. Well, we've never got through to the final. We haven't, but that's with different managers. That's with different players. This group of players, there's a mixture of, massive experience and, inspirational youth sort of thing. The mixture of the team at the moment is so good. And everybody, trusts each other in that squad to what they can do for their maximum at their peak. And yeah, there's going to be mistakes made. Jed Spence will go forward and he might lose it. But, the knowledge from him doing that is there's always going to be somebody there to cover for him when he does that. That's why he does get forward as much as he does, because he knows there's always going to be help behind if he loses it. And, that gives oppositions an awful headache. And I just hope it gives them a headache again at the weekend.
Yeah, so first game Saturday at Bramall Lane, 3:00, and the return at the City Ground Tuesday night, 7:45. How do you want them to go about it, Gary? You don't play for a draw at Bramall Lane, do you?
No, I said that earlier. I just don't think there's any point in doing that because you put yourself under pressure when you do that. You just sit back and, we did that under Chris Hughton a little bit. If we went 1-0 up, we'd go deep, defend. The striker would get isolated. You never get out your own half. And that Coventry game this season, early in the season, when we were 1-0 up, and they scored 2 in the last, 5 minutes to beat us 2-1. And, that was because we defended deep.
Oh, we've lost your sound, Gary. Did you get a call? Are you back?
Yeah, Nigel Clough phoned me. Sorry.
You
patch him in. Patch him in.
Yeah, drop him in.
But, yeah, he's just sorry about that.
It's okay. That's okay. I'll come back to you in a sec, Gary. I just wanted to go. We'll go to Temps quickly. Forest at Bramall Lane played very well. Didn't win the game. Brennan missed that penalty, which we discussed earlier. Then Billy Sharp scored. How does that play into the psychology of either team, do you think, that Forest played well there?
It was a good game, and they showed attacking intent as well, because I think I became a bit frustrated when we were coming up against sides that were parking the bus or trying to spoil it a bit like Luton. So that Sheffield United game, a bit like the Blackburn game, with two teams wanting to play. So, no, we won't go up looking to park the bus. Of course, we'll take a balanced approach. It's no bad thing to bring a draw back to the City Ground, but we'll try to play. I lived in Sheffield last time we played those semi-finals there, so I'm still haunted from that day. But so much water under the bridge, these boys won't be aware of that game, let alone scarred by it. So let's just do our thing, make our own plan. Don't worry about the opposition, and do ourselves justice. But I feel good about this. There's a good point in the comments, actually, Matt, about better to play Sheffield United over 2 legs and to face them in a one-off in the final, which I think's good analysis, really. If we were to face Huddersfield or Luton at Wembley, we'd really fancy that. So this may well be our final in a sense. If we can get past Sheffield United, it opens up a bit, and we'll be short-priced favourites. So I like that logic. We've got the advantage of finishing the tie at the City Ground. So let's get ourselves through the weekend unscathed and then turn it on at home.
Temps makes a good point there, Gary. I think about the way Sheffield United go about it. They're not going to park the bus like Luton might have done to try and sneak a 1-0. Do you think that favours Forest, that Sheffield United are going to come out and play and maybe leave space?
It's got to. I mean, the Luton game, that's a one-off. That's a league game. It's not a 2-legged affair. So you can afford to do that in a league match. But in a playoff semi-final, 2 legs, you're at home first. The onus is massively on you to go out and be positive. And Sheffield United will know that if they're over positive, they could get absolutely taken apart at times. It just depends on the quality we produce when we've got the opportunity to do that. So people are saying, "Oh, I wish it wasn't home first." If it was home first, we could get a good lead. You're not guaranteed at home to get a good lead. I'd rather play the away leg first every day of the week. And I was in the playoffs with Notts County many years ago when I was there, and we got knocked out by Walsall. It was one of the worst moments of my career because I think we were favourites to do it. We'd been in the top two all season, and we blew it, automatic. And we had a very experienced side. And, being knocked out in that way is not particularly good. And look, Steve he's been so positive in everything he's done since he's come in. Everything that he's done. And I don't think that's going to change on Saturday against Sheffield United. He'll back that group of players to the hilt. He'll say, right, we're better than them. Respect them. That we always used to do with Brian Clough. Respect your opposition, but don't be scared of them. And that's the mantra he'll give those players. What's the point in telling them to go out and, we'll be careful in the first 20 minutes or whatever? Yes, players know that automatically. They've got to start a game well. The first 15, 20 minutes to me is very important, in any game. But in a playoff game, first leg, you've got to do the basics well. You've got to, if you get the opportunity to do the other stuff, which we're excellent at, then fine, you do it. And it comes natural to that group of players. It does. It's staggering in the short space of time that, they've grasped the nettle and they do that. And it's, a lot of things in football are instinctive. People used to say to me, well, how did you do that on the pitch? And I said, I've got no idea. You don't as a player because it comes to you and you make your mind up in a split second what you're going to do. And we've got so many good players who do good things in split seconds. We've got Garner, we've got Zinkernagel, we've got Surridge, we've got Johnson, we've got Ryan Yates. They all make the decisions at the right moment. And there's no reason to see why that'll stop in that game. And then if you do go and get a decent result there, then nobody wants to come to the City Ground. It's just staggering, how we've been and the atmosphere at the City Ground. Some teams it lifts. But if we get, any sort of victory, they then have to come to us and then go for it again, which again will suit us. So, first goal possibly important, but first 20 minutes for me important. Do the basics well.
An interesting point here from Ian Temps and the comments about the FA Cup. I mean, obviously, all the FA Cup games are at home, so it's not really relevant to Bramall Lane. But do you think the experience of those big games will help Forest in the playoffs?
Yeah, it does, because those games have instilled and reinforced the fearlessness that Steve Cooper tried to coach into the team, and now it's become endemic within the team. They went into those games not trying to avoid failure, but trying to achieve success. I think that's a change of mindset amongst, bottom rung championship sides and those that are aspiring to be promoted. You can't die wondering. You can't go in there with any kind of negative mindset. You've got to want to push, take every free kick quickly, take that risk, beat that man, have that shot. And that's the mindset we're all in. Forest are going into games now expecting to win, being set up to be rapid on the counter-attack, to exploit pace, to almost trick teams into thinking that they can commit more men forward so we can get in down the sides. It's so exciting to see. And it's a result of everybody buying into the same plan. And I think when you have a plan that succeeds against Leicester City, against Arsenal, against Fulham, it just reinforces the entire process. So yeah, we're a better side for those experiences, Matt, for sure.
Hey, Temps, even Liverpool, you have to include the Liverpool game in that respect, because they were struggling against us. They brought 4 players on to make a difference because they were afraid of maybe getting beat. So that positive mantra was still there in that game. Yeah, it's Liverpool. We respect you, but we're going to give it a go here. And I don't think many people would have expected us to beat Arsenal or Liverpool, but we got close to it against Liverpool. Leicester maybe would have been a better opportunity because their season's not been as good as normal. Although they did well in Europe. But yeah, I just think the mindset he's put into these players' minds is just, absolutely fantastic. There seems no fear about doing or trying to make the right decision in the right area.
Where are these ties going to be settled then, Garry, in terms of mentality over quality? key moments going your way. What's it going to come down to against Sheffield United?
It can come down to little bits of luck. Matt, it can come down to anything. In these sort of games, it could be a fluke goal like we saw, at Hull. Hopefully it won't be. Excuse me. It's about, taking your opportunities when they come your way, making the right decisions in the final third. The worry for me, it's not a worry for me. The good thing about it for me is we've got probably 3 of the best defenders in the Championship at the moment. And, the experience they give you, is going to be key, I think. And just say to the creative players further up, just go and do your stuff. Just go and take it to the opposition. Do what you do best.
I'll mute myself. Temps, just looking ahead. In fact, do you want to say any more words about the playoffs before we move on? Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, we've said it. Let's move on and come back next week and talk about Wembley.
I think the other thing I wanted to add just quickly, the FA Youth Cup final is this week, I believe. I'm just frantically checking my phone there. So yes, it is. It's on Wednesday. Garry, that's something it's a great occasion for the club. Crazy amount of tickets sold, over 50,000. Great occasion for Forest and great occasion for those young men, isn't it?
It couldn't be better, could it? I mean, it just shows you the fantastic work that goes on behind the scenes at the training ground, at the academy. It's phenomenal. The players that have been brought through, that are still being produced, and to get through to the final, to play at Old Trafford against Manchester United, it's some feat. Maybe Manchester United should play that team in the Premier League, actually. It might be a little bit more beneficial to them. But, yeah, I've got every admiration for the people who do everything that doesn't always get noticed so much as it should do. But when you get to a final, they should get the accolades because, they work on a daily basis with these young players and they're instrumental in bringing them through difficult periods in their life. Because of that, when they come in, they've been at the academy a long time, then they get to an age where, am I going to make it? Am I not? And, it's not the easiest job in the world to get all that right. And again, you have to applaud what Steve Cooper's done regarding that. About, I keep using that word, embracing, but that's what he's done. It's not just about the first team; it's about the whole football club. He wants a whole football club to be successful. He wants it to be successful for the fans, for everybody. It's not. It's never been about him. It's about the history of the club. He wants to move it forward. And he wants to bring young players through, and that's what's happening at the moment. And we should all be very, very happy and grateful that we've got somebody like him in charge.
Yeah, a good point from Richard in the comments again. 5 years ago, I'm going to believe this is right, Richard, and not fact checking on the spot. I'm sure you're very reliable. 5 years ago, 6 England internationals played in the Youth Cup final: Foden, Sancho, Mount, Garry, and Hudson-Odoi. So Forest have got a tough task, but hopefully a couple of our own lads end up playing at that level. And obviously Dale Taylor is already a full international. And also good luck to the under-23s, I should say. They play their playoff final on first leg Friday, second leg Sunday the 23rd of May against Stoke City. No, that's wrong. They play it on Sunday the 15th of May. I'm reading this on my phone, should be better prepared. But good luck to them, and another example of how things are going for the club. Last things, and Reece James also played in that cup final as well, Richard said. Last thing I want to talk about, Forest linked with Joe Rothwell at Blackburn, good player, free agent, 27, bit of a Garner type player. Maybe that's a bit of an indication, like Garry says, Garner would probably walk into the Man U team at the moment. But Temps, sensible kind of recruitment. Garner's a very good Championship player, isn't he? And a free agent at 27.
Yeah, I'd love that sign-in. Man U trainee, played age groups for England, which will probably attest to his kind of technical ability. But yeah, the Blackburn fans very much into him because of his box-to-box work rate and all-round game. He's already announced the fact that he won't be signing a new contract with Blackburn. So it seemingly was against West Brom for his signature at this moment in time. But yeah, I mean, they have half an eye on Garner potentially not being with us this year, and it's the type of signing that you feel could work regardless of the league that we're operating in. But I think more importantly, evidence of having a positive transfer strategy for a 27-year-old fella who's proven at this level and has aspirations to play in the Premier League, arriving on a free transfer potentially. Again, just seems to have Dane and Steve Cooper's hands all over it, and this kind of recent flurry of transfers that, whilst we may have questioned at the time, have borne out to be really positive changes. So yeah, delighted by the individual and delighted that it shows further progress in a transfer policy which has been really progressive and successful this season.
Right, before we leave it there, Garry, before you go call Nigel Clough, anything you want to add before we let you go? Any other business?
No, just to reiterate what Temps has just said, preparation is paramount, and you can guarantee that preparation has been made by Steve and his team and everybody at the club involved in, recruitment for either scenario, whether it's Premier League or whether we stay in the Championship. And that has always been one of the most important things to get right at any level, that your preparation is right for the following season. And, I've got no worries about that either way. But, we're going to the Premier League.
Right, we will leave it there. Thanks to everyone who watched along as ever and dropped comments in as we stream live on Facebook. If you catch us on YouTube, do like and subscribe, and the same on iTunes or any other platform. I'm not sure what the plans are for the rest of the week, whether we do one of these on Friday, Saturday maybe after the game, or otherwise just come back on Monday. So do keep tabs on the podcast feed. Garry, thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure.
Yes, we'll let you go and call Nigel Clough. Thank you for just fobbing Nigel Clough off to speak to us and not disappear. We do appreciate that. Temps, no one famous called you, did they, during the podcast?
No, I was just going to mention that I scored yesterday, my first for Woollerton, over 35 of the season. So, yeah, nice to outscore Gary Birtles for one weekend in the history of football, at least.
Thank you, sir. Oh, talking about Nigel Clough, all the best of Mansfield as well in the playoffs. They play Saturday as well in the playoffs, their first leg. They've got Northampton. Yeah, they have.
Oh, they must be broken. After that, Bristol Rovers scoring 7 goals. Pete
Scunthorpe already relegated. I mean, yeah. But where Mansfield were as well early in the season, bottom 3, looking really grim. The job Nigel's done has been, fantastic to get them in there and, breaking season records and things like that. So let's just hope he can pull it off as well.
Yeah, that's football, isn't it? I was scrolling through my phone yesterday. One of my Facebook friends used to work for Forest, is a big Northampton fan. He was gutted. The post below was Bristol Rovers goalkeeper, I know from another job, and he was celebrating the highs and lows of football and what it can do to you in the space of 2 Facebook posts. But yeah, we shall leave it there. Thanks very much, everyone, and we shall catch you soon. Thank you for listening to Garibaldi Red, a Nottingham Forest podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please let us know. We love hearing your feedback. We'll be back soon with another episode. Thanks for listening.